You're listening to theoutdoorstation.co.uk.
Hello and welcome to another podcast from theoutdoorstation.co.uk, and this is the first in a series of special compilations, a gathering of interviews recorded at the Ordnance Survey Outdoor Show 2008. Online outdoor enthusiasts who keep a diary of their thoughts, experiences and gear reviews, etc. are called bloggers. And there are plenty of them around the world interested in all different kinds of outdoor activities. Just have a look at the Outdoors Station links page and you'll get an idea. Their collective readership is much higher than any magazine, and as such, these new media users are gaining considerable attention from other outdoors enthusiasts who enjoy reading the wealth of material, both new and archived. Andy Howell is probably the UK's most prolific and well-known blogger on the scene. And in this compilation podcast, he speaks to many others that he met at the recent Outdoors Show.
One of the features of last year's outdoor show was the first UK hiking bloggers meet, and this year it's the second outdoor bloggers meeting, and I'm proud to say I have with me perhaps one of the most distinctive outdoor bloggers, Acto Man, aka Duncan. Acto, you've struggled all the way down from Scotland just to be with us today. It's touching.
I struggled in the back of a taxi. I struggled in a plane. I struggled in the passenger seat of Bearded Git's car as he went round the corner a bit. That went a bit too far.
Question 17.
Struggling with the accents, struggling with the beer.
Struggling with a bit. Well, such dedication to get here and join us. We're honoured to have you. Have you had a chance to look around the show yet?
I did, yes. Yes, there's some good talks with some people. Visit Scotland.com, Catherine Trail, Scottish long distance walks. There's theme developing here.
Anything else other than Scotland?
Question 18.
There's some talks that are on the go, but sadly most of the talks I wanted to see or hear were either yesterday or tomorrow, and I'm only down for the day.
It's somewhat weird, isn't it, actually getting to meet these people in the flesh. You know, we're used to chatting on each other's forum boards and stuff like that, but it's actually rather quite sweet to meet these people in real life.
Well, one of the things, the downsides about the online side of things is the fact that people end up arguing over the words and the meanings. And here you've got body language and things along that line. And you don't have to wait for about 5 hours to get a comment back.
Now, you know, in another life, you're a media professional, I guess. And, I mean, it is interesting seeing how this whole world has grown and developed over the last couple of years. To the extent that it really feels like a genuine multimedia resource now and something of a community. Where do you think it's going to go in the next few years? I mean, is outdoor blogging in the sense here to stay?
I think it's going to be more of the convergence. I think outdoor blogging as an entity is converging. We've already got items like the Outdoors Bloggers Forum. There's people who blog, who frequent forums, who podcast, who video podcast, and to have our life in real life, in the real world. I think it won't be that long before we have people Monroe bagging on Second Life. Thank you. And
wouldn't that be a bit of a shame?
Well, if they can deal with and pick up in the virtual world some of the problems maybe of dealing with things like packs of wolves and things along that line, and they have an idea of what to do with it, if they can take it back, the skills learned back into the real world.
Yeah. Now, last year, at this event last year, I was talking to George, aka London Backpacker, and George said that he got to the point now where the blogs for him would become like an evening newspaper. And that got me thinking, because that kind of suggests a certain amount of quality and diversity to the offer. But actually it does feel like that now, doesn't it? In the sense that, you know, whether it's an alternative to the main media or not, but I guess we're seeing something that really does generally capture the passion and enthusiasm of a lot of people who are able to keep that alive during those, you know, dark, wet, rainy weeks when they can't get on the hills themselves. I mean, does it feel to you now as if it's something that's come of age?
Well, I think it's just that whether blogs, whether forums, whether people emailing each other, they are keeping their outdoor passions alive. They're discussing things. They're finding out new items when either illness keeps them off the hills, or they're not getting out like myself. I don't like hiking in the snow, climbing in the snow and things along that line. It allows people to keep on talking, keep on communicating, keep on the spirit alive. And I find my television viewing habits have changed, my radio listening habits have changed. Programmes I never watched or listened to in the past. Anything that comes on about wolves, for example, I will now watch with added interest. And the same with finding out things online. And one of the good things about the online resources, and more with the old media, where it becomes on demand, is that as your interests change, you suddenly decide that you want to find out more about wildlife, birds, for example, and you take a pair of binoculars with you. You have a whole pile of information available to you online, rather than just going down to the local library and borrowing books, or going down to the local bookshop or the DVD shop and picking up the media there.
Do you feel that you've got now almost a responsibility for a readership? I mean, I was struck yesterday by a couple of people that suddenly appeared out of the blue and said hello, and they said, "Oh, we read your blog regularly and it's really good and keep it up." And I thought, "Good grief." It's kind of almost begin to feel as if you've got a responsibility to a public now. Now, that's something that's grown a lot, I think, during the last 12 months.
I think it depends on the type of blogger that you are. Not all bloggers are created equal. Everyone's different. There are people who review gear. There are people who talk about politics. There are people who are more active. Myself, I'm more sedentary, and I'll put up information that I find useful. I can link back to if other people find useful. If other people go, well, yeah, who really cares if you saw a squirrel on the way into work? It's not that important. It isn't. But it might touch a vein with somebody else who goes, yeah, I've seen squirrels, the grey squirrels, how they treat as vermin. Should we get and open up a whole gamut of additional links? And it's part of the online, the real-world community.
Now, I've got to ask you before we finish, because everybody that knows the world of the outdoor blogs will know about the Actoman brand, I guess. But because the Acto is a very famous one-person tent, and you would argue the very best one-person tent.
Yes, other tents are available. I was looking at a certain tent on the way in, and it's just the fact that it got me out there.
It's all well if you're small, that other tent, isn't it?
I wouldn't like to say it. It's like tarps and things like that. It's just the fact that it's not the fact that other tents are inferior or anything along that line. It's just the fact that it's the first tent that I've owned that allowed me to walk further, allowed me to stay out for longer. I wasn't worried about the weight of it. If I had a tarp, maybe tarp man or something along that line. It's just one of these things that just got me out there, and whatever gets you out there, if it's a person, if it's a television programme, if it's a blog, if it's a forum, then there's a certain debt that's owed to these sort of people, these sort of things.
Now, I guess that's the whole point of the blogging world. It allows us to connect in all kinds of ways, but ultimately it's really worth its while if it encourages all of us to get out a little bit more often, maybe try an area new for the first time. It does that, doesn't it? It's not just people sitting at home talking about it, it's encouraging people to get out and explore more.
You get because you're following an individual rather than groups, there's more of an empathy there. I mean, people pick up empathies with people that you meet on forums, and like P. Wiglet, for example, was the one that encouraged me out there just from her podcast with Bob, with what she was posting in Outdoors Magic, and there was a certain empathy there of the fact that someone could get out there and do it, and if whatever the hook is to get you out into the world, to get you thinking about other things, whether it's somebody in America podcasting, whether it's someone in the UK blogging, then it works for you.
Right, certainly does. Well, anyway, keep on blogging and enjoy the show.
Thank you, and you.
Now, of course, outdoor bloggers are also prolific walkers, and I've got Mick and Gail with me who are preparing to set out on Land's End to John O'Groats. It's been fascinating following your preparations on the blog. Gail, how's it going?
I think we're getting there now. The gear choices are almost made. The maps are all printed. Got a few more detailed maps to get hold of, but if we had to go at the end of next week, I think that at a push we'd be ready.
And Mick, it's some undertaking, isn't it? You're finally ready and up for it now.
Yes, yeah, we're looking forward to it. A bit of trepidation, I think, and it's quite exciting, the idea of setting off April 15th, and away we go.
No, I mean, it obviously is a walk that captures lots of people's imagination, and just behind us we've got Alan Sloman, who entertained us last year as he ate and drank his way from Devon to Scotland. But, what is it about the challenge that has caught your imagination? Is this something you've always wanted to do?
I decided I wanted to go for a long walk a few years ago when I started hearing about the American 3. But America's quite scary, and just the whole logistics of trying to arrange a walk in America was just a step too far. And then I read a few Le Jog blogs and write-ups, and suddenly realised that I could actually do a really long walk in this country. And so it was probably born about 2.5 years ago that realised that this was the thing.
So
that
you've been planning for that long?
I've probably not been planning for that long. Detailed planning started about March last year. And don't underestimate how much planning you can put into it if you want to.
I'm sure. Now tell us about the route. Obviously you start at Land's End and finish at John O'Groats, but there's almost a kind of infinite number of variations on that theme. So which way are you going?
Well, we start Land's End and work up through Cornwall and Devon towards Cheddar, and up to Bristol, across onto Offa's Dyke. Virtually all the way up Offa's Dyke. We're cutting short the last couple of days, cutting across through
South Cheshire,
joining the Pennine Way, all the way up the Pennine Way, so we get to the top of there, go up towards, Gail wants to see the Falkirk Wheels, so we've got to go through to Falkirk from there, and then we just go up the centre of Scotland, where we toyed with the West Highland Way, but we decided that everyone seems to do that, so we moved that slightly further to the east, and we're going up sort of central Scotland. I used to go up and down the A9 an awful lot in the car, so we've avoided that part. And then
go across to the northwest, trying to avoid the road, the A9 walk. So we go across to the northwest, hit the west coast, and then start heading northeast. By Dunnet Head to John O'Groats.
Oh, that sounds absolutely fascinating. And this is going to take how long?
We've got 78 walking days planned, averaging 16 miles a day. Some days are really short, and some days we get on are quite long.
Have you sorted on the kit that you're taking now?
We're pretty well there. It's actually quite funny that we thought we were well prepared with kit. I mean, we go backpacking all the time. What more would we need? And yet, when you start planning it, you're like, no, I'm not sure about those boots, I'm not sure about those trousers. So suddenly you buy a whole new load of kit just to do the walk, with the justification that most of it will be worn out by the end. So you may as well buy new kit. So we're still a few things we need to get, but most of it I think we're happy with now.
And what about the tent? I mean, you bought one of these Swiss American tents that Alan used last year. Yes. You decided whether to take it or not yet?
Well, we've taken her out a few times now, and each time it's been very, very cold, and there's been no wind, and there's been a single skin tent. It gets we keep getting ice inside the tent to a condensation side. So we will be taking called a Wendy Warm Light. So we'll take Wendy.
Should be coming at least some of the way with us.
Yeah. And we've also got another tent, the
Voyager.
Terra Nova Voyager. So we might change halfway. We're not sure yet, but I'm quite happy with Wendy. She's very light. I mean, dead easy to put up. Really is a very, very good tent.
And Mick carries the tent, so he cares about the weight.
Fine, good. I mean, Alan was telling me last year that he was one of the first people, if not the first, he claims to be the first person that had an Acto in this country. And watching him take his tent, which he called Wander, of course, Wander Warm Light, on the TGO Challenge last year, I'm sitting there thinking, I wonder just how long it would be before we start seeing some more. So we have. And are you going to be blogging about this as you go?
Yes, definitely.
So you're going to keep us all very entertained?
I can't guarantee that, but I will be blogging as we go.
Well, we'll make sure the blog links are on the Outdoor Station site so that everybody can follow you. And it's been great reading the preparation stuff, so just good luck, and I'm sure you're going to have a great time.
Thanks
very much. Just bear in mind we're doing it for Macmillan as well. So,
and have you got one of these donation support sites set up?
Yeah, we've got a Just Giving website. If you go on justgiving.com/Walking Britain, and it'll be you can go straight on if you want to give a donation. Well, we'd really be
Well, I certainly
appreciative.
think people should be encouraged to do that, because I'm no doubt you're going to provide us with hours and hours of entertainment over the next few months. So it's certainly well worth giving a good donation to Mount Mellon. Thanks a lot, and have a really great time.
Thank you very much.
There's quite a connection between outdoor blogging and the TGO Challenge, and I have with me two of the characters of the TGO Challenge. Some would say the Laurel and Hardy of the Scottish Hills, Alan and Phil. Al, busy preparing for this year's challenge?
Yes, I'm in the pub. We're 2 pints down and we're very happy. But the difficult thing was route finding. It took us 3/4 of an hour to find this place. It was a nightmare.
And Phil, you two are famous for your cheese and wine parties on the top of hills, aren't you? You kind of prepare for the TGO Challenge in a rather unique way. Some would say with style, I think.
Well, we try to. I mean, we have actually found some very, very prime locations for cheese and wine this year. They will be notified very shortly. We make a point actually of waiting until after all the routes are in before we do this, because we consider it important that people shouldn't divert from their purpose just in order to enjoy our hospitality.
Because it's ticket only.
Well, I mean, the thought of lugging all that wine and stuff up the hills, that has to be said that, I mean, you're not really enamoured of the lightweight philosophy, are you? It would just restrict you too much.
You're absolutely right. In fact, I've just had to trade in my old rucksack to bring a new one. I'm following Phil's philosophy. It's got to have 2 side pockets, because we realised this year that there are a number of periods where we're out for 2 nights, and so you've got to have a bottle of wine for each night. So you need a side pocket for one bottle and a side pocket for the other. So I had to change my rucksack.
Dedication. Well, there's 2 of you, so that's 2 bottles for each night.
Well, that's absolutely
One
right,
each.
yes. One each.
Now, the TGO Challenge obviously is one of these things that we know that lots of people listen to the coverage on podcasts and read the blogs now, and it's, for many people, it's the kind of thing that they want to do one day, because 2 weeks out of their year is an awful lot, particularly if they work in education or something like that.
Have you met his wife?
No. Should I?
That's the 2 weeks. He'd go away for 4, I promise you.
So that's the motivation. But the point I'm making...
Miss Whiplash is a fearsome woman.
But the point is, it looks a bit daunting to a lot of people, all that planning, but it is really great fun, isn't it?
It is terrific fun. I mean, I'll actually tell you, Andy, how I got into the TGO Challenge, in that I really used to enjoy holidays in the south of France, and I invited Alan and his
Sun,
wife.
no rain, nice
Provence,
bottle of wine,
yes,
with a
lovely restaurant,
roof
a
over your
villa,
head.
swimming pool. So I took Alan on one of these, and I don't know whether he enjoyed it or not, in that he found the sun too hot and spent his time by the pool covered in towels, wearing an outsized Tilly hat. But I think he enjoyed the restaurants anyway.
Restaurants were fine, but I said to Phil after a while, I said, look, this is getting too hot. I said, why not? I'm doing one of your holidays. Why don't you come on one of mine? Now, Linny just started laughing, giggling. She was a little bit pissed, and said, well, go on, tell them about your holiday. So I said, well, look, what you do is you get up in the morning, you put down your tent, which is covered in ice, and it's all got condensation in it, and it's got empty beer cans and wine bottles. You pack it all up, and then you walk for 15 miles through torrential rain and bogs, going uphill and downhill. I said, you'd love it, Phil. And Linny was saying, God, if you can take this bon viveur on holiday with you, she said, oh, I'll come too, thinking there was absolutely no chance of it ever happening. Anyway, that was August. And October came and Phil rang me up and said, Al, about this TGO challenge. At that point, Linny was dead.
Not only that, my wife said that, yeah, I'm up for that, and off we toddled. And sadly, we've been doing it ever since.
No, you haven't. Now, how many challenges have you done now?
13, I think. Yeah, no, 12 official ones, 1 unofficial, because there was the Year of the Foot and Mouth, which was a short challenge. But we actually managed to talk to all the landowners and estate managers and find a route that they allow us to go from the west coast all the way across. So we've actually done 13 crossings.
Right. Phil?
I think I've done 7, haven't I?
And from those kind of auspicious beginnings, you become a part of the challenge, haven't you? You're one of the
afraid so.
challenge regulars.
Afraid so. It is a dreadful thing. Andy, you get addicted to it. And even when you're standing somewhere with the wind whipping round you and the rain trickling down the back of your neck.
It's when it gets down the back of your underpants. That's horrible.
Yeah, that really is something. But I mean, just thinking about life on the side of the swimming pool in the south of France, and actually I'm there.
Yeah,
I can
has
feel
a
the
certain
sun
appeal, I
now.
have to admit.
But I mean,
Can't we do a coast to coast in France?
Bloody good idea.
That would be good.
Yeah, it would be really good.
That would be good. We do that Haute Pyrenees thing. You've done something on that.
Actually, there is a lovely book, a lovely map you can buy. ISGN do, which
Yes.
shows all the long distance footpaths in France, and you can connect them together. It's something I've dreamt about doing on long winter nights. And of course you could go through.
I can think of better things to do on a long winter night.
Well, one thing you could do, of course, is you could plan a coast to coast route that connected all the major vineyard areas up.
We're good at that.
How many pockets would we need in our rucksack, though, Phil?
Oh, quite a lot.
Oh, quite a lot, yeah. But you wouldn't need the down jackets as often.
Better take the Volvo, I think.
So, Phil, to anybody thinking about doing this as the kind of thing that they always want to aspire to doing, you wouldn't discourage anybody from having a
No, I wouldn't. I mean, talking seriously, the challenge is something. Yes, you do have to prepare for it. Do you have to be a superhuman? No. I mean, just look at the state of us. I mean, you don't need to be superhuman. What you do need to have is that certain element of determination that when things look grim, I'm not going to let this beat me.
Rubbish. What he's really talking about is Schadenfreude. When things are looking really grim, you're looking a bit further north, and there's a huge thunderstorm with hailstones coming down. You're thinking, "That's not us. I'm glad we're not there. Some poor bastards in there. Whoa!"
There is all somebody worse off than yourself, and that does add a certain frisson to whatever misery you're suffering.
Well, if you've been wondering about the TGO challenge, I'm sure these two have convinced you to do it. Not least because you might bump into them at some point. I have to say, I spent an afternoon in the Five Arms with Alan last year, and my goodness me, was I wrecked for days after that. Anyway, good luck. I should point out that cheese and wine and bottles of wine are not obligatory on the TGO challenge. You can do it in a more serious abstinence kind of way, though why anybody would want to do that beats me.
No one will talk to you.
Anyway, have a great time this year, lads, and enjoy the rest of the...
Cheers, Andy.
You're a star. Cheers, mate.
Well, also here is one of our newer bloggers, but very prolific, and certainly very prolific walkers, Martin and Sue Banfield. Welcome.
Thank you.
Hello.
Now, you've just come back from New Zealand, and it sounds like a fascinating holiday. Now, a lot of people I know see that as one of the ultimate places they want to go walking at some point, but you were there for several months, weren't you?
We were there for about 7 weeks, and we spent a month in the South Island and about 2.5 weeks in the North Island.
Sounds absolutely fabulous. And was it really as just brilliant as everybody says?
It was an excellent place to go. The tracks were tracks rather than footpaths. We had a problem with our compass, which pointed south when it should have been north, but we never needed it anyway because the Department of Conservation in New Zealand keeps the paths suitable, on the Great Walks at least, for wheelchair users.
So it's not quite what we're looking at in terms of long distance trails.
The Great Walks certainly are prepared for those people that don't normally walk, but we did try and get off the beaten track, and Nelson Lakes National Park, the paths were not treated by the Department of Conservation, and they were full of tree roots and nice soft leaves, and they were a big improvement.
Sounds fabulous. Now, I mean, I know a lot of people, a lot of dedicated walkers worry a little bit about these great paths because they're well maintained and you have to have a license, don't you? And you're encouraged to stay in a certain place. I mean, you're a bit regimented, which for some hill walkers is a bit of a problem. But having said all that, presumably these are still wonderful walking experiences.
Yes, absolutely. The great walk that we did was the Routeburn, well, the first one was the Routeburn track. And the second day on that was one of the best alpine days you could get. It competed very well with alpine days in Europe.
Yeah. So I mean, describe to us the scenery, Sue. I mean, what?
lot of contrast actually, and one of the great pleasures which you don't get here is the bush. And the bush on the Routeburn track was utterly stunning. You couldn't see a bit of wood anywhere because the wood, the trunks.
It's not all
and the
like in the Lord of the
branches-
Rings, then.
Well, it is. No, it's not all free of bush, but the bush is remarkable because there's such a lot of lichens and liverworts and moss growing on everything because of the damp that they get there. And that, for me, the bush is just dripping with greenery. It's fantastic.
So you certainly recommend anybody to have a crack at New Zealand?
Well, talking about Lord of the Rings, Mount Doom is absolutely awesome, and to be able to go up to the top of Mount Doom and stand on the edge of the crater is quite a wonderful experience. I recommend anybody to do that.
Particularly when you're the first person up there and the clouds are below you. And you can see Ruapehu in the distance, and you can see Mount Taranaki in the distance. Over
So
the
you
clouds
could be
as
there,
well.
could you?
Oh, it's fantastic. And it's the best scree run I've ever done. 25 minutes of knee-deep lava, which was brilliant, with gaiters and ski poles and walking poles was fantastic.
Now, so you would certainly encourage people to have a look at New Zealand. Now, like both of you are kind of leading a life of almost permanent leisure these days, and it's very difficult to keep up with where you are at any one time. So what have you got planned for the rest of the year, Martin? Because I know you plan prolifically, don't you?
Well, we're both going to do the TGO Challenge this year. Looking forward to that. We've got quite a not too difficult route, but I think it's...
And you're starting where?
We're starting at Shield Bridge, and there are about 15 or 16 Munros, so starting off with the South Cluny Ridge, which knocks off a few Munros Sue's not been up. So that's a good trip. And that's a relatively short one, the 2 weeks, because after that we fly to Nice towards the end of June, and towards the end of August we fly back from Geneva. So it's one of these things. If you don't,
presumably you're not just sitting in bars and restaurants during that time.
No.
You're going to be hitting hills.
We haven't got any money coming in, so EasyJet is already paid for. And we're just taking the tent, and we're going to stay in Italy as far as we can, as close as possible to the border with France and wherever else it gets to.
Okay, so you're just going to wander around the hills.
Lots of wild camping and a mission from south to north. Should be amazing.
Sounds absolutely fascinating. Well, just have a great time. I'm sure you will.
We will. Yeah, the idea is to walk as close to the French border as possible. Realistically possible, without needing all sorts of climbing gear. And maybe the following year or at some future date we'll extend the route and finish up back at the coast. After all, we're starting at Nice. It's nice to finish at another coast. Somewhere north of Venice would be a good spot to finish.
Well, that sounds like a great challenge. And of course, no doubt we can expect to read all about this when you return.
You certainly can. Well, hopefully we'll find a way to blog while we're there.
Another set of mobile
replacing.
bloggers. Yeah.
No, it's no good, this one.
Well, okay, we'll make sure the web links are up on the Outdoor Station website, as I think you're going to be providing us with hours of entertainment this year. Anyway,
Well, we hope so.
Yeah, well, make sure you have a great time, and what a fabulous year. It's fascinating to meet people who think, well, okay, we can take this early retirement thing and we just go walking all year.
Yeah, the little challenge of learning some Italian before the trip soon.
You'll get by. I mean, you only really need to learn things like, can I buy some bread and cheese and a beer?
Exactly.
Yeah, Sue will learn a bit of Italian because it does enhance the trip if you, and I'll try and learn some as well, if you can communicate reasonably with the locals. It does help. And the route we're going, I've been to the Alps quite a lot, and the route that we're choosing this summer is places I've never been to before, despite having been going to the Alps every summer for the last 20 years. So it should be good.
Well, have a great time.
Thank you very much.
Now, last year I had a lovely conversation with George, who's George Cummings. Anyway, never mind. George Griffin from London Backpacker. And what struck me, George was talking about how blogging and the blogs have now become like a kind of evening newspaper. And it got me thinking about what that means, because it kind of suggests that there's a notion of variety and quality in the outdoors world that maybe I hadn't thought of now. But in the last year, I think we've seen more and more outdoor blogging coming, and the quality is definitely getting better and better. And I'm just wondering to what extent now this is really becoming a kind of alternative media outlet.
Definitely. Although you still got the magazines like TGO and Trail.
And we'll always still love them.
Oh yeah, we will. Well, some of them, yeah.
Sometimes.
Sometimes. The bloggers give a different view and different aspects from maybe the way an editor decides the way a magazine should be run, or what reviews go in there, or what articles go in there. And bloggers, I don't know, they don't worry so much about the figures. Or some of them do. Some of them like to say, I'm getting X amount of hits a month, a week, or whatever. But I think most bloggers post reviews what they think are reasonable, and they don't worry about the numbers.
Oh, they may not be experts, but the kind of enthusiasm carries them along, isn't it?
I think that's the thing. It's the enthusiasm. It's not the actual. You don't need to be an expert. In all honesty, to review a piece of gear, yes, you can have an expert review, but sometimes the expert doesn't always see the practical side of it. So a blogger who's using it for
an ordinary walker like us, as opposed to an expert.
Yeah, an ordinary person. They find different things to use. Not necessarily use it, but a different way of reviewing it, and it's not so clinical.
Now, last year when we were talking about it, we were wondering whether blogging would survive, or some of the blogs would survive, because, as a blogger you want to write about what you want to write about when it's there, but they have survived and they have expanded, and I guess with RSS feeds and things like that now, it doesn't matter whether somebody only posts once a week or even once a month. When you aggregate them and you bring them all together, you do have something that's very rich and diverse in content.
Oh, most definitely. I found in the year since we last spoke that, like you say, that there's more bloggers appeared, so that's even more news feeds that you've actually got coming in. And I did imagine that some of them would drop off, but to be perfectly honest, most of the bloggers that were about last year are still about. So people have got something to say, and like you say, you might only get a post maybe 1 or 2 times a month. But it's still interesting. And personally, I haven't actually been out walking since last May, but I've probably still posted, 40, 50 posts to my blog, because there are other things that I find that are useful.
But even last May you were out walking the Dales Way?
Dales Way.
Yeah, and so you've catalogued that, really well, so anybody wanting to walk that in the future can see and feel what it looks like.
Oh, well, most definitely, and sometimes I find writings, it takes up too much time, so the actual Dales Way, I actually videoed most of it. Well, I videoed all of it, and that's up on YouTube, so you actually get a feel for what the weather was like, how each day went. In each little video I'd done a review of how the day was each day, and for me that was a lot easier than actually sitting in front of a computer writing it a week or 2 weeks later.
George, your YouTube videos are becoming quite famous, not least the little animations that you're doing with Lego characters.
Yeah, well, the idea of the Lego characters was just because sometimes to sit down and actually type something for it can take me 2 or 3 hours, and I just haven't got that amount of time. So it's easier to actually speak something. But then again, I'm not particularly happy being in front of a camera. So it was how can I make this work? And the idea was, I'll have a little Lego man as the front man.
Well, it's great fun. And if somebody wants to look at your feed on YouTube, what should they type into the search engine?
Just type in London Backpacker on YouTube, and it should take you straight to it.
Yeah, well, it certainly brings a smile to the face. So, George, thanks very much, and look forward to seeing you next year. And maybe the outdoor blogging community will have mushroomed even more.
Well, it certainly has. I think there's twice as many bloggers here this Saturday than there was last year, so yeah, it's definitely increasing.
The future belongs to us.
Yes, definitely.
Now, the Outdoors Bloggers Meet isn't just for bloggers. We have a number of people who are regular followers of bloggers here, including my mates from Stockport Walking Club, Colin and Helen. Welcome to the convention.
Hello, how are you?
Now, I just thought it would be interesting to talk a bit about walking clubs, because when I came up and spent an evening with you, I don't know, some months ago now, it was a fantastic evening, and you kind of think of walking clubs a bit like you think of the Ramblers now, being a bit old-fashioned, and, you know, people with beards, 50 and beer guts, trudging along through the mud until they get to the next pub. But actually, it was a very vibrant event. I don't know, about 50, 60 people there of all kind of ages. So it obviously is an important part of the lives of those walkers.
It is. I mean, over the last few years, we've actually built the group back up. We've actually done a lot of advertisements as well, where we've actually gone into Go Outdoors. We did a whole day there, and then from there we actually did our own press coverage, where we took the photographs ourselves, sent it into the press, and we got a good half page. And we did it again this year, just after Christmas, where when we changed the programme, we actually sent a small photograph in, but the actual Stockport paper did it as a half-page feature. So to get an advert like that free, it costs us quite a lot of money. That's bringing us quite a lot of new members. We've had, in the last couple of months, we've had a big range of ages, maybe from 20 up to 50. The hardest thing is to keep them there, because some people do get the wrong impression that they can walk, but when they get on some of the walks, they're not up to that fitness of 10 miles and that.
But that's the great thing about a club, isn't it? Is if you want to start walking for the first time because of health or general interest, I mean, that's one of the advantages of a walking club, that you're walking with other people who understand it. And you have a range of activities, don't you? I mean, you go out and do organised walks, but the evening meetings are very impressive as well.
Yes, we try, and during the winter we have a range of outdoor speakers in, sometimes our members doing talks. And then during the summer we do Wednesday evening walks, which are always very popular, that people who haven't done much walking can just do an hour or so of a walk and get a bit of fitness up ready for doing something longer on a Sunday.
So it really does create that kind of sense of community, walking community.
It does. I mean, just on the Wednesday night evenings that we've been doing, the indoor ones, about a year ago, we actually invested into a digital projector, and that's actually changed it around, because everybody's now not shooting on slide film. So we've actually brought in quite a few good shows in on people going away and doing walks in Nepal and over in America. We're getting some of the members doing talks on that, so that's changed that side around. And then we've got, like Howell said about the Wednesday evening one, so people can't do 10-mile walks. On the Wednesday we're doing just 3 or 4 miles, and people enjoy them. And then we are trying to do bigger walks on a Sunday. I mean, during the summer I'm going to do one called the Saddleworth 5 Trick Point Walk, which is a 20-mile walk. And we're looking on the internet, on the Outdoor Magic, and we've seen other walks as well, the Bowling Challenge Walk. And then weekends, we're trying to get more weekends organised in hostels or camping. Or hopefully, if we do get it pulled off, this one is the wild camping one. But
we'll talk about that in a minute. But I mean, as a very impressive range of activities that you're organising, and I guess we should all be grateful we've got people like you two around who are dedicated enough to do that.
Well, there's a whole committee of people who organise things, and everyone in the group organises things, even if it's just they'll do one Sunday walk or they'll organise a pub night, and everyone contributes really, so it divides the work out amongst us all.
When I was with you earlier in the year, we were talking about wild camping, and people who do a lot of it like us tend to forget that it's still a very exotic, exciting thing for lots of people. And you touched on it there, but you're thinking about organising a club wild camping expedition, aren't you? So that you can get into wild camping collectively. It sounds like a fantastic thing to do.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do, but it's like a big uphill struggle to get people when you talk about wild camping to them, they think, oh no, it's not going to be that good. They prefer the creature comforts or bed and breakfast or hostel. But trying to sell it to them, like you're on a mountain, you wake up to a nice sunset or watch the sun going down in the evening and that.
I reckon, even if you only get 3 or 4, go and do it, because those 3 and 4 will have such a great time that next year it'll be 40 or 50. Actually, maybe you've got to pick your spot carefully if it's 40 or 50. But I thoroughly enjoyed my evening in the Stockport Walking Club, and I was quite taken back by how energetic and people were, and how many people were there, and as you said, the diversity of the ranges. So if anybody in the Greater Manchester area wants to find out about the Walking Club, how do they find out about you?
If they go to the website, which is www.Stockport and Outdoor Group .org.co.
Or just Google Stockport Walking Group,
yeah, we have 2 different websites at the moment, but if you Google Stockport Walking Group, you'll actually find that. And then also from the webpage, you can link to the blog page that we do with photographs and all the walks that we do most Sundays. There are on the look at description of what's happened on the walk or the weekend.
And everybody's welcome, no matter what standard of fitness or experience they've got.
They certainly are, yeah. We never leave anyone behind. If people are struggling on the walk, we'll adapt it to fit in with people. And if you're not sure, ring up the walks leader beforehand and just find out what's involved, and we can assure you that you'll be able to cope with it or suggest something, another walk that you will be able to do.
Well, I thought the hospitality and the welcome there was absolutely fantastic. So if you're based in the Greater Manchester area, check them out. Stockport Walking Group. A warm welcome is certainly assured. Colin, Helen, thanks a lot, and good luck.
Thank you.
Just a quick reminder to make sure you subscribe to the RSS feed in iTunes or some other similar podcatching software, or you can keep popping back to the Outdoor Station for more varied content from the Outdoor Show, which will be released very soon.
Find out how easy it is to subscribe to all our free programmes. Visit our website at theoutdoorstation.co.uk.